Hello, I'm Craig Miller, the Achieve One Product Manager for Achieve It Solutions, and today I'm going to be taking you through a brief demonstration of Achieve Warehouse Management for SAP Business One version 9. Many companies struggle with problems in their warehouses, and inventory may be misplaced, wrong items may be shipped, and the warehouse workers may be working overtime to keep up with demands. Achieve Warehouse Management is designed to provide the tools your company will need to process more orders and move more inventory in less time. Every function from receiving to manifesting is designed to let you pick the right goods into the right cartons and ship them out the door accurately, quickly, and efficiently. The system is designed to let warehouses re-engineer for maximum productivity by providing a process for efficient warehouse operations with radio frequency handhelds, barcodes, and a pick, pack, ship software package that allows you to implement this process. As with all Achieve One modules, Achieve Warehouse Management has been built specifically for SAP Business One version 9. It will integrate smoothly with all the standard features of Business One software. It also integrates with other Achieve One modules including Achieve Freight Control and Achieve Container Management. Now let's begin the demonstration of Achieve Warehouse Management. Achieve WMS allows a company to gain efficiencies and higher levels of accuracy through things like shipping, via picking, and packing with the optional freight control. Through receiving, via PO receipts, non-PO receipts, and with the optional container management module, you can also receive full imported containers. Through inventory transactions like intercompany transfers, product movements, goods issues, and goods receipts. And also through functions like cycle counting and productions. Now let's take a look at some important setup options. Achieve WMS version 6 for SAP Business One version 9 has been redesigned to utilize the new multi-bin and multi-unit of measure features added to this new Business One version. We'll skip the discussion on bin and unit of measure setup as they're described in the Business One documentation. However, what is important to note is that we do follow the designed restrictions from a bin perspective, such as item restrictions, batch restrictions, transactional restrictions, all as defined by Business One version 9. Now we're going to take a look at some of the different WMS setup options, which are designed to work for almost all warehouses. Under WMS management options, this is where the majority of the configurations that affect how the documents are processed, how the handhelds are displayed, and the different notification options that are available in our software. Under processing options, we determine what documents are automatically created upon completion of a pick or of a receipt. For picking an order, you can choose to auto-create deliveries and/or invoices, or neither. Also, if the Achieve Freight Control module is active, you can have that module auto-create subsequent marketing documents and choose to issue picking directly from the shipping request. You can view our Achieve One Freight Control video for more information on that module. For receiving, you can auto-create the goods receipt PO and/or the AP invoice, or neither. With these options, there's no need to retouch the order in order to finish the process. Lastly, we define the different allocation methods that's best suited for your warehouse and for your product. Under the handheld options is where you define how the RF handhelds will function. You can validate serial numbers or batches, or require scanning versus allowing selections from displayed lists. You can also choose autofill order quantities in 3 different ways, such as default the order quantity on the handheld, or require the user to enter the quantity selected. All throughout Achieve WMS, we have full batch and serial number processing. In this particular case, we will default the full batch quantity into the sales order quantity screen on the handheld. Also from the handheld, you can choose to print pick tickets, carton labels, packing lists. For shipping, we offer an option to use a logistics manager, or it can automatically release all sales orders that are 100% fulfillable in the warehouse. If you choose to use the logistics manager, it works very similar to the pick and pack manager. Selecting this option allows a manager to determine what orders to be released for picking based on a number of options like delivery dates or shipping methods. We'll show more on this a little bit later. We offer passwords so that the handheld user can override bins, or they can cancel an order pick, or allow them to short pick. Some of these same options are also available in the Receiving tab, the Inventory Transactions tab, and of course for Productions. Under the Notifications tab, We have a series of predefined alerts that are constantly monitored. When an alert has been triggered, you can select who will receive that notification that that situation has occurred. They can be notified by the internal SAP email or by an external email. Under Warehouse Users is where you create username and passwords for each valid user. You assign them to a default warehouse, select their default printers, and use the Menu Options tab to define which WMS options are going to be available for each user. If an option is not selected, it does not even show up on the handheld. Now let's process a few orders so you can get a feel of how functional and flexible it is to use Achieve WMS for processing orders through your warehouse. Before we go through the process of picking a sales order or receiving a purchase order, let's review the management options that we have already set up. For picking a sales order, when the pick is complete, we will be automatically creating a delivery, but we are not going to create an AR invoice. And for the receiving, we will create the GRPO, but we are not going to create the AP invoice. Now I've already created an order, number 402 here, that is 100% fulfillable and has 3 standard items in it. The first 2 items are just typical standard stock items, and the third number is going to be a serialized item, so we can see how that process works within Achieve WMS. Now I do have the Logistics Manager turned on for all sales orders. So let's take a look at how that process works. Under Logistics Manager, there's a series of filters that you can use in order to narrow down those orders that you want to see if they're available to be picked. You can choose a filter by the posting date, the required date, maybe a particular customer, a particular fulfillment percentage, routing, or any orders that have a certain item. In this case, we're only going to be dealing with our Warehouse 2. So let's see what orders are available in this particular case. Now in the Warehouse Logistics Manager, there are a series of tabs that determine the disposition of an order as it's being processed through the warehouse. In the Open Document tabs, these are all the orders that have met the filter criteria set on the previous screen. Our order 402 does show up because number 1, it did fulfill those filter criterias, and it is 100% fulfillable. So by selecting the items in that order to be picked and selecting Release, those items will now be ready for WMS. And what that actually means is that order is available at the handheld level for the picker out in the warehouse. They have the ability to select that order and start the picking process. But before we do that, let's take a look at a few tabs before they're ready for WMS. This first one is pending replenishment. Any order that was selected to be released that is unable to be fulfilled 100% is now considered a replenishment order. Replenishment means that there are not enough items in the picking bins to be able to pick that order. It requires either a restock from your overstock bins, or possibly that you just don't have enough items in the warehouse and you need to procure them. What's nice about the pending replenishment tab is that once items in an order are fully available in the pick bins, they will automatically be released for WMS. Again, you do not have to retouch that or re-release that. It simply becomes available. Now let me put on my warehouse clothes and let's pick this order. As a warehouse picker, I'll be assigned a radio frequency handheld device. We're using an emulator today, but please be aware that what you see on the screen here is exactly what you would see on your scanning handheld device. So the first thing we have to do is log in with our user ID and our password as it was defined in the Warehouse Options handheld setup. So my user ID is 111. My password is 111. And of course, it lets me know that my default warehouse that I'm working in is 02. Now, only those warehouses that are set up for multi-bin functionality in SAP version 9 are going to show up in this list. Although I actually have 4 warehouses defined, I only have 3 warehouses that are set up for multi-bin. So even though my default warehouse may be 02, I do have the ability to work out of warehouse 04, or the IT is the inventory transfer warehouse, and we'll get into a little bit of that more later. So let's go ahead and log in. Now again, based on how my user was set up in the user options under WMS, will determine the menu options that I have available to me. Now as user 111, I have turned on every menu option that's available. Although primarily today we'll be dealing with the shipping menu, the receiving menu, and the inventory menu. So I'm a picker today. Let's go into the shipping menu. I choose picking. Now this screen presents the ability for me to be able to either scan in a sales order number from a picking ticket, I can type in that sales order number, or I have the ability to browse for any released sales orders that are available to be picked. I click on load. There's my 402. I hit select. And now it comes up with a list of all the items that were originally in that sales order. What we see here is a little bit different than what was on the sales order. The reason being is because item 300 was set up with multiple units of measure. We originally had a quantity of 25, as we can see over here. What this is telling us is that in order to pick 25, our system is smart enough to realize that if you pick one case of 24 and then one additional each, that's going to satisfy your open quantity of 25. So let's go ahead and pick this particular order. The first thing we're going to do is that we would scan in the bin that it wants us to go to, and then scan the item for which you're picking. Upon scanning that item, it takes us into the screen that denotes the quantity that we're expected to pick. Based on the warehouse options I had available, I'm actually defaulting to the order quantity, and in this case, it's for that particular unit of measure, which is 1. If all looks good, we go ahead and hit save. And it takes us back and shows us the list of remaining items to be picked on that sales order. You do have the option of, by clicking off the hide finish, will show any items that have been currently picked are highlighted in green. In order to save a little bit of confusion, my option says that I want to hide the finished and only pick those that are currently waiting to be picked. We go to that location and scan the location barcode and scan the item barcode. The decoding of the barcode on the item recognizes that we have scanned the case 24 and has validated that against what it asked us to scan. So in this case, we need to pick one case of 24, and we hit save. We'll save the serialized item for last. Let's go ahead and pick item I-400. Quantity of 3. And now for the serialized item. Now the process is relatively the same. We still need to go to that location and scan it, and scan the item. Now if we were to try to save this, the system's going to let us know that this is a serialized item. And now we have to specify the serial number that we are pulling out of that particular bin. The way we do that is that we choose our little ellipsis button, and now it's asking us to actually scan the serial number for which we're going to be pulling. And there's the serial number. Now that serial number is now attached back to that order, to that customer, full serialized tracking. By hitting save, without any other items listed in here, or again if we turned off the hide finished, you'll see that all items are now listed in green. We know that this order is done. We simply finish, and we're ready to choose the next order. Now let's take a look at the receiving process in Achieve WMS. As we stated before, there are 3 different types of receipts that can be processed within the Achieve WMS. We have our typical received by the PO, we have a non-PO receipt, and we have a container receipt. We won't be getting into the container receipt, as that has to do with the Achieve Container Management software, and that's a video that you can also view later on. So let's take a look at what it would take to receive a PO. Much like as in picking a sales order, if you know the PO number at this time, it can simply be typed in or scanned in, or you could also browse using the ellipse button. You can search for all POs that have a particular item on it. You can search for a PO from a particular vendor and from a particular warehouse, or you can simply hit load and it'll load all of the available POs that are out there. Now the one we created for our purposes was PO 360. I'm going to go ahead and select that manually. Again, as with the sales orders, a list of all the items on that PO show up in a grid. The system is waiting for an item number. Now whether the item number is typed in, scanned from a barcode, or selected from the list is completely up to you. In SAP version 9, items will have default picking locations, receiving locations, and backflush locations. So for each one of the items listed, you'll notice that we have their default receiving location. In this case, it's denoted as the receiving dock 01. So I'll go ahead and scan item I-300. Based on the warehouse options, we had the automatic fill quantity equal the order quantity. If there's any changes to this, you have the ability to go back and change it. So in our particular case, let's assume that instead of 5 coming in that we're expecting, we only have 3. I have my hide finish checked, but because I didn't receive the full quantity, That item in this PO is highlighted in yellow, letting us know that there is more of that quantity that we can either expect to receive now, or we're not going to receive it, and that PO should then be processed as a typical PO that had not received all of its quantity. Let's process item I-400. And again, 10 cases, 10 cases. I'll go ahead and accept this. And our last one, and we'll accept the 5 quantities there. Now, because we do have an item that is still open on this particular PO, if that item is no longer found in this receipt, in this receiving process, you can simply finish what we have done now, and it'll create a GRPO only for those items that received, as a typical SAP Business One process. However, if later on in the receiving process you notice that these items were maybe further back in a truck or maybe in another box, you have the ability to go ahead and receive them right here. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and receive the full quantity. It's letting us know that the quantity ordered was 5, and we had previously received 3. So in this case, I'm going to change that down to the 2, and I'm going to go ahead and add that. Because no other items are now showing up in the grid, we know that we've completed this receipt, so we'll go ahead and finish. And now we're ready to receive another PO or go back to the menu. Now let's take a look at that PO that we just received. Because in our document options, we had set that we would automatically create the goods receipt PO, but not the AP invoice, our system has automatically closed the PO because we did receive all the quantities. And if we look at the relationship map, you'll see the goods PO was created for the exact amount that we received. Now again, if we did receive short any of the items on this PO, that PO would stay open and the GRPO would be created only for those items that were actually received. So now let me show you how we receive a non-PO receipt. First, we need to choose the vendor. And again, all of this is being done on the handheld. A personal computer is not required to do these types of processes. We give you the ability to do your browsing by vendor, by item, by bin, or any other lookup screens that are needed in order to process an order. So we have our vendor, and at this point we need to start either scanning or entering the item numbers that are coming in. We do not have a PO. This is going to have to be a manual process, but it can be done directly from the handheld device. We scan the bin location that we're receiving into and the quantity received. And you continue this process until that non-PO receipt is completely received. When we're done, we finish, choose yes, and now that non-PO receipt has been completely received. Now let's talk a little bit about inventory transfers. From the inventory menu, it presents us with a bunch of options that we have to be able to transfer inventory either around your current warehouse, between warehouses, or doing issues from your inventory or into your inventory. For this purpose, in our previous example, we had received items from a PO and a non-PO directly to the receiving dock. So let's go ahead and move those items at the receiving dock into their actual pick bin locations. We do that by using the transfer menu option. In this case, it's as easy as scanning the item number, entering the quantity, scan the location where it's currently located, and then taking it to its actual final location and scanning that location. And you continue that process for any other items that you're moving from, let's say your shipping dock, or your receiving dock, into the pick bin locations. Each transaction is checked against the database of available items at each available location. So if I were to type in an item that was not available at the location, or I simply misscanned an item or misscanned a location, it's going to let us know that that item is not available at that location. And let's try that. Upon accepting that scan, the system lets us know that that bin quantity is not available for that particular item. Again, we have these edit checks all throughout our handheld and our WMS system. When you're done with the transfer, you simply hit finish. And as we stated before, the other options that you can do with the handheld under the inventory menu is receive goods, you can issue goods, and you can also process an entire inventory transfer request. As I stated at the beginning of this video, we do offer full production scanning from issues of production, production receipts, and an entire submenu system of WMS production options. We also handle the full cycle count, including bin counts, and simple location lookups. So if you want to know where all the locations of a particular item are, You can either enter or scan an item, and this lists all the locations and all the stock available at those locations. This concludes the overview presentation of the Achieve Warehouse Management System for SAP Business One version 9.0. If you would like a more detailed presentation of all the features available in the Achieve One Warehouse Management System, please give us a call at 631-543-3200. My name is Craig Miller. I am the Achieve One Product Manager. Thank you.